Good evening, everybody. The best laid plans and all of that. The first thing I was going to say is there are no fire drills scheduled for this evening. So hopefully for the rest of the evening, there will be no more fire drills scheduled. If the alarm does sound, then it's probably a fire and we should all leave the building by the fire exits marked and convene in the car park over the road. As if anybody needed to be told that after what we've just done. That's great. So for anybody online, we've just had a fire drill. Okay, so this is the last full council meeting of the calendar year. So as well as welcoming you all to the meeting, I'd like to wish everybody here, and it seems wrong, but I'm going to do it, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Do we have apologies for absence?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have apologies for absence from councillors Jenny, Eastman, thank you, Bob Cartwright and Martin Dowling and Tim Snaden. I don't think I did, but thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so declaration of councillors' interests and request for dispensations is next. I have no interests to declare that I'm aware of.
Which way are you going?
You can go.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Nothing I'm aware of.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. So move on to the chairman's update report. I've attended since the last meeting, I think, one event, and I was very proud to attend the Remembrance Sunday parade and service and to lay a wreath at the War Memorial. I'm going to have to get my teeth in today, aren't I? At St. Peter's Church on behalf of the town. We're going to later on in the agenda be talking about public toilets. I was going to do an update on the public toilets. We own the ones and operate the ones at Wyndham Way, or we lease and operate the ones at Wyndham Way. And people will probably know by now that they've been closed for some time due to vandalism. So item 14 on the agenda seeks to set up a working party to review the problems experienced and look for solutions to this increasing problem. So we'll be discussing that in more detail later on. I just thought I'd give that a mention. Remembrance Sunday, I would like to thank everyone involved in arranging or taking part in the parade and the service last Sunday. There was a great turnout from Portishead, and I was pleased to see our new MP taking an active role in such an important community event. I'd also like to mention the very successful Sustainability Expo held at the Somerset Hall on Saturday the 2nd of November, and to thank all the councillors and staff that worked so very hard to make this event successful. This is a part of this council's response to the climate and biodiversity crisis, and I hope it leads the way for more work in this area. At a recent meeting of residents, I agreed to send the answers to questions from the Senior Citizens Forum. I can confirm that this has now been done and that I've invited their representatives to a further meeting to discuss a way forward. This information will now be released on the Town Council's website and social media channels. One final note, and this is a last-minute insertion, is that due to a prolonged recovery from a period of illness, Councillor Martin Dowling has stepped down with immediate effect as the Vice Chair of Planning. This is to give him time to concentrate on his recovery. He will continue as a councillor, but I feel it's right that we do all we can to take any pressure off him during this period. I'm sure that we will all wish him well in his recovery. And now I believe we're going to receive a brief verbal report from the Portishead Community Fridge. If you'd like to come forward and sit at the microphone, push the button until the light comes on. Yep, the one on the right.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, do you want a brief history or do you want to ask questions?
Do you have something that you'd like to say?
I've just jotted that now, but I can answer questions if you prefer. Do you want me to just read stuff out?
Yeah, if you just tell us what you've been doing, and then I guess if you're happy for us to sort of jump in with questions, or would you prefer to say your bit and we'll ask at the end?
Yeah, I'll say my bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we've been going for around about approximately 2 years. Can't remember the exact time. We're an environmental initiative to save food waste. We started off, Lisa and I went down, we saw Pill food table. So went down, had a look at that. And we decided to set up in Portishead. We were initially set up outside St. Joseph's Church, which was really good. But very few people came. And I found myself running down the street, getting hold of people at bus stops and begging them to take a Swede. And people were looking at us as if we were completely mad. So that was 2 years ago. I think this week we gave out about 140 bags of food. And that is most weeks, 140 bags of food. We work really cooperatively with the food bank and with Olio. I think we're quite lucky in that. I think in some parts of the country things are a little tense sometimes between different providers. We've had an enormous amount of help from the co-op. The co-op, we went round asking for a place where we could set up a structure, and co-op offered the front of their shop. And they don't only offer the front of their shop, they pay our electricity bill to run the fridges and freezers. And they put up with the fact that people are queuing outside their shop and generally making a bit of a nuisance of themselves. And our Saturday table is outside Somerset Hall. We have probably about 30 volunteers. I don't know how many pickups we do a week, a lot. And that's us.
Thank you very much, and obviously pass our thanks on to all the volunteers for all the hard work that's put into this. It really is a good show of community spirit in Portishead. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to say?
Yes, I do.
Oh, so we go Janet, Mike, then Paul, if that's okay.
Thank you so much. Could you please tell us what Olio is, please?
Olio, I don't use it myself, but it's an app you can get on your phone. And food is, excess food that would normally go into the bins is put onto the app, and people can go to an Olio volunteer's house and pick it up. So most of the supermarkets don't want to deal with both a community fridge and with Olio. They want, obviously it's more efficient for them. They have a load of food. They want to give it to one person, not have two different organisations coming in. So Olio were already set up in Portishead when we started, but the supermarkets prefer to give to community things rather than to Olio, because Olio is individuals. So there was a danger then that Olio would lose all of their food. So instead we've worked with Olio, and when we pick up, if it's a use by date of that day, we drop it off to the Olio people who list it on an app. Then anyone can go and pick it up from that house, and the stuff which is not used by goes into our fridge.
Yes, thanks. I've seen you up on the co-op, by the co-ops. Is that twice a week you're
That's
up there?
twice a week.
And Saturday morning just
Somerset
down at
Hall.
Somerset Hall.
Yeah.
And the products that you have at the co-op, that's both within the fridges and fresh product as well, is it?
Yes.
And packaged and such like.
Yes.
And when you mentioned about the bags, do you pre-pack bags to then distribute?
No.
If people just come and
People
choose
come
what
and
they want.
choose what they want. I think for us, it was always important to sort of make it. So obviously our customers are primarily, we're an environmental thing, we're preventing food waste, but a section of our customers need the food.
Hmm.
But we didn't want it to be, you'll have that.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted it to be as near as a shopping experience and a choice experience as you could get.
Yeah.
Having said that, we do have our things where if you've been, you'll see that sometimes we have things that say 1 only or 2 only, because we do try to make it a little bit fair.
And still struggle to get rid of the sweets, for example.
Maybe.
But
Bananas are the biggest problem.
bananas.
Bananas, yeah, dreadful things when they go off.
So what do you actually do with the food that you can't distribute to people?
A lot of it's composted. Some of it, I think, can go to pig waste, but they're not pigs that anyone can eat, because there's rules about food for animals too. So I think these are ornamental pig. Is it they called ornamental pigs? I don't know what they call them, but pigs that are pet
right.
pigs. So nobody's going to eat them. So they can eat what they like, I think.
Oh, sounds logical. That's great. Thank you.
Brilliant work. Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of questions. So you said there's 140 bags. Is that sort of stable, or is it still going up, or is it?
It goes up and down a little bit, but 140, I would say, probably average. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Some people do queue once. You're allowed to queue as many times as you like, but you can only take 1 bag at a time.
Okay.
So you can come round and get a second bag.
Yeah. Okay. Do you need any help from the council? You sound as though you're very self-sufficient. Do you need any help at all?
We're pretty self-sufficient. We get quite a lot of, because we hit a lot of, green initiatives, food waste, food poverty. We do quite well for grants.
Yeah.
I don't know whether other people have clocked this, but I remember seeing that there might be an initiative to change the Somerset Hall thing, and that would obviously impact us. Because we do keep some storage in Somerset Hall now. They've given us a cupboard, and we have a freezer upstairs. So that would impact us if that happened.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Brilliant work. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Sue?
Yes. Oh, I just come.
Do you want to come and grab one of the spare mics?
Sorry. Just to say that the community fridge was partly set up by the town council, and I was involved in that as several others, councillors were, and yes, and I have a picture somewhere of the actual open day, but I've just been looking for it and I couldn't find it. But it's been really good. They've had a lot of support, when it was started up by the co-op and the co-op pioneer. She did a lot of work as well. So and it's working really well, but we shouldn't need it. But it's useful for people who, like you, don't want to waste food. And that is brilliant. I thought I'd just add a little to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming along and explaining everything to us so well.
You're very welcome.
And thanks for all the work you do in our community.
Okay, I shall feed that back to everybody.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Right, we now move on to public participation. So before we start that, will all participants please note that this is an opportunity to have your say on matters relating to this council. As always, comments should be about the council and not individuals. You will note from the agenda that there is a time limit in place of 5 minutes per speaker, and this section of the meeting shall not exceed 30 minutes in total. I understand that Miriam has kindly agreed to be timekeeper for this, and that she will issue any speakers with a warning after 4 minutes that they have 1 minute in which to wrap up. So, do we have anybody who'd like to speak?
Yes, but Ben's go just before me. Go on, Ben.
Like that nomination. Cheers for that one. Please come again next.
Got a script, so I'll get it all in quickly. Obviously, I'm here to kind of say a bit about the RBL. Obviously, as we all know, the parade kind of was this past weekend. What an experience it was, and what a nice thing that actually the town kind of came together for such a good event, and obviously slightly historic by the fact that obviously we had a World War II D-Day veteran kind of effectively leading the parade, which was epic in its own right. From kind of us as a group of organising for you guys, kind of thank you to the council. I know we're not actually have names, but I'm going to name a few. Emma, your help. Wendy, your help. And Nikki, who sat online with kind of lastminute.com and the stage, and whoever else helped out as well. So thank you for that. The stage, hopefully, as you probably all noticed, in fact you're all there, we moved you from Folk Hall at your request this year down to Tudor Garage. It was a far better success, we felt. So did kind of everyone around the whole area. People actually got to experience the salute, the whole parade, not just parts of the parade. So, you know, that was a benefit. We have discussed, I put a request into Wendy and Nikki to kind of extend the stage and make it bigger. I'm aware you've got the cost for that, so I kind of passed them on to Nikki yesterday, but the idea behind it is it's a two-pronged attack. One, for added safety, to make the stage a bit bigger, to kind of, we can kind of expand it and put a few more people on it and spread them out a little bit, but also gives the option to maybe put 2 stage platforms down by the bottom of Stoke Road. So whenever the veterans or the people are reading out the names that have fallen in Portishead, they can kind of look above the crowd and kind of be seen a bit clearer and a bit better. It's a bit chaotic. Obviously, you didn't see it on Sunday, but we had ambulance whizzing down past you lot. 2 people were quite ill, and then another one got taken away as well. So if we can work around that, that kind of helps us. The stage kind of area did work well, but a massive thank you to the Rotary for that one. Obviously, we put the Rotary there this year, 4 guys and girls stationed either side of that area, and then for the first time ever, police car behind the parade to collect the veterans that couldn't walk all that way. So that worked well. So thanks to the police, and they've hopefully will be able to give us the same amount of police cars for next year. If you want to kind of just kind of compare costs, you may think the stage is expensive. It's not in real terms. If you look at it just for a traffic management company for 1 year, you're in the realms of £3,000. We're spending about the same on the stage, which will last hopefully 15 plus years. So in terms of value for money, it's very good value for money. It's a cracking system as well. I know he's not here this evening, but Bob Cartwright obviously put some wonderful pictures on social media I've been shown. And I believe the town council shared his video, which is kind of slightly epic. You need to see it, Barclay, you're on it. So yeah, it is really good. So thank you to Bob for that. And the request was made for extending the sound system beyond Tudor Garage. It's possible, but it's not easy. We can discuss it at a later date, but keep in the back of your minds, you're probably talking in the realms of £500, because it's not just the fact that the kit, it's the time to put it up. Bearing in mind the PA system guys were down there. I arrived at 10 to 7. They'd already been down there 20 minutes setting up and already got speakers up and running cables out. So they started testing the system just after 8 o'clock to make sure it's all ready for everyone when everyone arrives. So if we can kind of just keep that in the back of our minds, kind of discuss it after Christmas, let's get out of the way. But yeah, otherwise, that's it from me. Just kind of thank you to everybody kind of involved. Just a reminder to councillors, there's an email on your desks regarding the VIP area. Friday is the D-Day. If we don't know by Friday, you ain't coming. Please, that's it. Thank you. I'll hand over to Barclay, who shot me in the front of the book.
Ben, sorry, I think Janet wanted to say something to you.
I just wanted to add that Tudor Garage also took the staging in their own van back to the folk hall for us, and they were really helpful the whole time.
Yeah, they did that on the flagpole. They opened up from us from 8 o'clock Sunday morning, and then for people that couldn't stand for that period of time or didn't want to or were cold, they opened up front room as well, or the waiting area and loo. So yeah, so we've done thank yous to everybody. Everyone's been tagged in by the council, SES Barriers, Tudor Garage, North Bristol PA, Bristol Ambulance, RBL, Christmas Lights, etc. I forgot someone, I apologise. All the police, and I've sent personal thank yous to the Rotary, police, council, and obviously there's someone who sat up there who's not here, Nikki. We gave her some flowers yesterday to kind of say thank you. She said, "What's the flowers for?" Don't need flowers. Yes, you do. It's my job. No, it's not. Your job's not 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night talking to us a lot, and your job's not 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning helping us move stuff around. It's not your job. Here's your flowers. Enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Ben,
Well, Ben.
don't run away yet.
Oh my God.
Sorry, you're not getting away that easy. There's two other people who want to just say something.
Well, first of all, thanks to you and all you do. The two stage areas, well, the second one that you're now talking about, could they be amalgamated? I mean, the logistics of how it works, is there a chance that they could be amalgamated rather than the councillors all around the corner, along with the veteran or veterans?
There's a possibility, and it's been discussed tonight with Barclay. It's logistics. Bearing in mind, we've got to make sure that we've got a crowd in the realms of about 5,000 people gathered in the high street in that compacted area, plus everyone up the road. We've got a limited team in the centre to make sure we can make it work. And obviously, with the issues that we had this year, which is it's going to happen, people are going to take ill, it's life. To try and move things around from A to B quickly would be a logistical nightmare. Which is why if we can get the extra bit, then it allows us to kind of chop and change it without having to worry about moving it all the time. We can put it in place, it's there. We can put the 5 or 6 people on the stage and or another 2 people at the front bit where they're reading other names, etc. at Stoke Road. So it just gives us the flexibility effectively and just saves me and the team a complete headache of trying to very quickly scamper behind the back of Barclay and crew after you've called the 2-minute silence to a halt, with then taking down the stage, running it up to Tudor Garage to put it back up again and reassemble. Unless you want to volunteer. I don't think it's possible with the best will in the world. That we need probably 4 or 5 extra people just to do that bit, I think, because they're actually quite heavy.
Sorry, it was only one thing, and it was just to make sure that I think officially we do say thank you, because we wouldn't have been able to do this without yourselves and the volunteers and everything, and the feedback that we've got and the provision that we need to put into place for next year and the year after that and the year after that, for the continuity of what it is that we're doing as a town and how everybody comes together. The arrangement that we've got with yourself and all of the volunteers, Ben, second to none. The quality of what we've got. I was speaking with Nikki, and just the communication and everything in terms of how everything is set up. I have been in many events across the course of my sort of career, and the professionalism in terms of how it is staged and the fact that it's with volunteers is second to none. It's amazing. I just wanted to make sure that we've got that on record, and also from a council point of view, how much we, we just thank you.
I agree. We should all thank Ben and the Christmas Lights Committee for all the hard work they put in, not just around this parade, but all the other things they do in this town. So thank you.
Thank you. It's not, from my point of view, it's not needed. We all know that, because I don't want to take the credit, 'cause it's not me. It's a team of us. We work hard, very hard. Bearing in mind, I'm not quite sure what time I got to bed Sunday night. Back up next Monday morning, and then on the phone from 8 o'clock sorting out Christmas switch on, which is a week on Monday. So it kind of doesn't stop this time of year for us. It's a bit manic. We just do it because we like it. We enjoy doing it, and it brings Portishead together. There's not many towns around this country, the fact they get to go to most of them with work, that come and do what we do. They've all farmed it out to big companies and the lights. I was in Reading on Monday night, and their Christmas lights are up already. My words were dull. It's probably the best description for it, which is sad because it's gone to a big company. They just slam up and off they go again. We put our heart and soul into it, and it's not just a 2-minute event for us. We started months ago, so where we are. So yeah, thank you all. Any questions? Otherwise I can escape now.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Barclay.
Oh, sorry, Barclay, push button. Thank you.
So hello everybody, Barclay Harris, Chairman of Portishead Royal British Legion. I think Ben's done most of the thank yous, but let me reiterate it because I come from the military community parade point of view. So it's not purely a military parade, of course. It's got to be a community parade. There's approximately 450 people in that parade, and when you see those go past, what have we got? The Cubs, the Scouts, the Browners, the Guides, the Rangers, and all that. That's just the kids, and then the police cadets, and the Rotary, and the Fire Brigade, and the Lifeboat, and the cadets from the Army, cadets from the Air Force, and then the Royal British Legion. So I think we do rather well at putting on a good show for the town of Portishead. And the estimates are 5,000 people in the high street, and I think it does bring the community together really, really well. So lots of thank yous have gone out, but I do want to thank everybody here for your support of the parade. That's the big deal. We wouldn't be able to run that without the logistics required, so Ben and team, but adding to that event to make it special, such as the stage and all of that, were very much appreciated. I did see our MP Sadek the next morning. There's something called Poppies to Paddington. Don't know if you heard about this, something that started in lockdown, where the train from, I believe it's Penzance, I might be wrong, makes its way up to Paddington, and at every station it stops, people donate a poppy wreath on there. So I did meet Sadek for the 8:24 train coming into Bristol, Temple Meads, and he said, Barclay, that parade was fantastic, and he's been to lots of events around the country, and he said he would like to come back each year if he's invited. I pushed back a little bit and said, do you not need to go around other areas of your constituency? He said, no, I'd like to go to Portishead. That'll be right. So I think that's testimony. So we're really appreciated. And I don't want to keep changing the parade, but the only major change this year, Arthur Oborne are 10 weeks away from being 101 World War II veteran. We knew between him and his daughter that he wouldn't be able to march the whole length of the high street, although he looked it on Sunday, he could have done. So he said, well, the place for him is to be on that saluting dais, is it not? And then we think, right, how do we get him to the saluting dais? So that's where we did the march down to give him his moment of recognition, which I think was great. The only bit I didn't know when I said, you're welcome to give him a rapturous round of applause, that the horse would be spooked by that a little bit. But between Ben and I, we're having a look at what we can do with that horse, because lovely to be there, but on a serious note, we can't risk a horse causing any injury to anybody in the parade. So we'll have a look at that one and have a look at that from a risk assessment point of view. But much appreciated. Thank you. If there's no questions, I'll go and sit down.
Thank you very much, Barclay.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? I'm sorry, you need to speak into the microphone so you can be heard. So sorry, Annette. People are online.
Yes, I'm only asking if I
Yes.
can move a chair. I don't think it's actually vital information for the member of the public to know that, but we have asked at meetings for people to not have their backs to the public. It's very rude, and in the past we have moved the chair because it's polite to do so. Yes, it's an interesting one I'm here to talk about tonight, and it's regarding agenda item 9 on the council papers, and that's regarding the behaviour policy. And it's interesting because the agenda says that it's going to be discussed and following a meeting held on the 3rd of October, which bizarrely included a so-called independent councillor from Andover, which is very bizarre. And it's to discuss the recommendations made at the meeting on the 3rd of October, one of which is to send me a warning letter. It's not the first time I've had a warning letter, and it may be the last, but having received a letter dated the 25th of October 2024, it seems that the recommendation to approve the recommendation from the 3rd of October has already been made behind closed doors. And I do know that one of the other recommendations that meeting has also been enacted. So I'm not quite sure why it's on the agenda for today when it's already happened. So with regard...
Sorry, if I could just say, we will...
Well, are you going to stop?
We will clear that up under agenda item 9 for you.
Okay. Hope you stopped the clock and started it again. Thank you. And just on the clock business, can I just point out that this town council, under the Portishead Independent Political Party, really rallied against the previous administration for not allowing people to speak beyond 4 minutes, I think it was at the time. And yet they're now stifling the public from doing the same. We do understand that it's got to be business conducted. But at the same time, I can't remember at the last meeting in September, which related to the 3rd of October behaviour policy meeting, that the chairman actually stopped anybody from talking or even warned them that time was running out. And if you're going to have a timing policy, it's got to be consistent, because at the moment it currently isn't. So by all means, have a timing policy, but it's got to be consistent. And you can't have favours to people that you like or praise you. It's got to be across the board. So going back to the aspects of the letter that I received, there are several sort of anomalies, and in fact the information isn't correct. It says within the letter, and I must read this first part out, that it relates to why I was going to be sent a warning letter. And it was regarding things that I had posted on YouTube and Facebook. I don't post anything on YouTube or Facebook that isn't factual. And at no time in all the times I've been using YouTube and Facebook have I ever had anything removed from it. Not from the Facebook standards, not by anybody. And in fact, nobody's ever taken a criminal prosecution out against me, because I make sure I have the evidence, and I will continue to do so. So I have fought long and hard in council meetings, past and present, to make sure that meetings are video recorded. I wasn't doing that for the council's benefit, I was doing it for the residents' benefit, to offer us protection. And fortunately, I'm able to evidence that I have never, ever shown inappropriate or aggressive behaviour towards the council. What I have done, though, is held the council to account.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Held the council to account. And I will continue holding the council to account, whatever party they might belong to, whether it's regarding a matter that they feel very strongly about. I will hold them to account if this town is misled, if information is incorrect, and I will also offer factual information. Now, you might not like that information, but I will continue doing it. And if my greatest crime in this town is to put on videos on YouTube, which actually are the same videos that you're on your own website, with correct information alongside, then I think I'm quite happy to come along and carry on doing that. And if it means I'm going to be banned for doing so, I will be banned. And I would like to correct that in the letter it said that I had been banned previously for a month in September.
That's 5 minutes now, and I'd like to hand it over back to the chair. Thank you.
Can I just say, it's incorrect.
I'd like to hand the conversation back to the chair.
Information.
Thank you.
Just like
Annette, sorry, if you could just sum up very briefly.
I'm trying to. I would just like to say, if you're going to send letters out in relation to behaviour policies, you must get the information right. And having been banned for, after a flawed behaviour policy back in 2021, I consider myself.
Sorry, Annette, I extended you briefly. I think we're beyond that now.
You keep interrupting me, Mr. Whitfield.
But thank you very much.
Can I just say that the information was incorrect. I don't consider myself that you've ever done a review, so I consider myself
Annette, we
still.
are well beyond your 5 minutes now, but thank
Fine.
you very much for your
And
contribution.
haven't you just
It will be
enjoyed that,
noted.
Mr. Whitfield?
I always enjoy your contributions. Yes, thank you very
don't.
much.
You don't
Annette.
like the facts, Mr. Whitfield. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of my time as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else wishing to go? Paul? Or no, Bob?
Takes me back a bit, this. The first thing I want to do is to applaud the chair for trying to fight the mafia that exists down in Weston-super-Mare. The whole parking stance that they're taking is clearly an undemocratic one. A couple of us have been, a number of people here have been down to the meetings. It's quite clear they've made up their mind. It's very interesting that none of the people who have made that decision have anything to do with Portishead, or actually none of them actually represent the wards where the parking is being implemented. Assuming that it is going to happen, the question I would have for the council is, what are you going to do about your own car park? Because it will be full up immediately, and so people won't be able to attend meetings. There are a number of meetings, as you all know, that happen in here in the day. Old people, they can just about make it across the road. They certainly won't be able to walk down from any other parking place. And then finally, I wonder if the council can take a position when it comes to the road traffic acts. It was interesting, obviously off record, when we had the meeting earlier in the week, they don't even know what they're going to do on the lake rounds yet. They just know they're going to do it. They don't know where it's going to start, where it's going to finish, whether they do yellow lines outside people's houses that actually live there. They don't know any of that. None of that detail has been planned. But I'd like to think that the council will be on their backs all the time to try and make it as least a sort of bad situation for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think that was well in 5 minutes.
Yeah, timekeeper says you're okay on that one. And anybody else wishing to have a say under this section? I think we're probably pretty much at our 30 minutes time anyway, aren't we? Okay, great. So we'll move on then. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the North Somerset Councillors Report. I was hoping that Councillor Snowden would be here to give that report, but unfortunately he's not available. I will give a brief report, but before I do, I was just going to ask Sue, as a district councillor, Councillor Mason, should I say, if she'd like to come up and give a report.
Good evening, everyone. Right. I will be fairly brief because I've written it out, so I know it won't take too long. Just to say that I was obviously unable to give my report at the last town council meeting because, of course, that went on quite long for various reasons. And I know when you were saying, right, we must stop, I said, please, can I give this report? And you said, no, give it to next time. So I have amalgamated them both. Casework has been very varied, but includes a dangerous flight of stairs to one's... Sorry. Casework has been varied, but includes a dangerous flight of steps to one side of Avon Way. A blocked road gully, causing drainage problems due to a collapsed pipe. Concern over a large old tree on land no one owns. North Somerset does not have any money to deal with trees they are not responsible for, which has created a concern for this particular person who lives near this very old, tall tree. I've arranged for the removal of the damaged metal barrier on the junction of Nor Road and Hillside Road, and also cutting back of that vegetation on the corner so that people can see to come in and out of there. That's just a few of the things I've dealt with. A few weeks ago, I walked along part of Down Road from West Hill to Weatherly Drive with Councillor Mike Bell, where we discussed potholes again, yellow lines, visibility of the zebra crossing by the school, state of the roundabout, overgrown sort of areas and much more. I didn't hold my monthly surgery in July in the library due to the general election. And you might say, why? It's because the library is part of North Somerset, and therefore, of course, there were certain things that couldn't happen. But just to say that my monthly surgery is from 10:30 to 11:30 on the first Tuesday in the month, if anybody ever wants to come and see to me, which people do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. Sue, just bear with us a second. Thank you for that shameless plug of your surgery as well. That's great, but I think Paul has a question for you.
Can I just ask you about the flights, the steps on Avon Way? Are they actually going to fix them, or are they just...
Could you turn your mic on, Sue?
Yeah.
Yes, they are going to deal with them because they are dangerous. They are sloping.
Yeah.
Instead of being straight like that, they're like that. And I understand 2 people have actually fallen down and hurt themselves. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so as well as being chair of this council, I'm also a district councillor. So in the absence of Tim, I will give a brief report on the goings on at North Somerset. Well, North Somerset, it's been full of drama recently with the executive decision to impose parking charges on the northern towns, and then the subsequent call-in to committee of that decision, which was spearheaded by Councillor Snowden, which culminated in a recommendation to the executive. Now, the budget consultation has also started, and North Somerset have published a budget simulator on their website, which gives you all an opportunity to balance the budget yourselves. This has brought out some very useful and interesting feedback. I would note that in recent budget engagement sessions, we've been fielding many more questions from the public asking what they can do to help with the financial position, which is in stark contrast to previous years where the majority of questions were about why North Somerset Council can't do more for residents. It seems that the financial position of North Somerset Council, and indeed of the country, is beginning to shape the conversation. With the change in government and the subsequent change in planning, North Somerset Council have again opened up the local plan to try and meet the new housing numbers imposed by the government. North Somerset Council have put out a further call for development land, which means that they are asking landowners to indicate if they would like to make their land available for development. The problem is that North Somerset has a vast area of floodplain, so many locations are unsuitable for house building. The government seeks to remove some of the protections on the green belt land and reduce the ability of areas to oppose development. So I fear that Portishead will again become a target for development, either internally or in the surrounding green belt. Demand in both adults and children's social care remains high, but the peak we saw in July is not continuing as a general trend, which means that the financial pressures on the council's budget may not be as severe as was initially feared. I would, however, caution that as we enter the winter period, the pressures are likely to again increase. So North Somerset Council will still need to make substantial cutbacks to balance the budget in this and future years. Sorry that it all seems a bit doom and gloom at the moment. We can only hope that the government will give North Somerset Council the money and flexibility it needs to sustain its important services through this period. And there ends my report. And now we move on to the minutes of the last meeting, which I believe have been circulated with the agenda. The recommendation is for members to consider and approve the minutes of the council meeting held on the 11th of September 2024 and for the chairman to sign the minutes as a correct record. Do I have anybody wishing to propose any amendments to those or corrections to those minutes? David?
I just sent a small typo to Wendy, which she's going to correct around someone who seconded one of the motions. But with that, I think they're fine.
Okay, great. Could I have a proposer and a seconder? So John, Paul, and do we do all in favour on the minutes? I often forget. There we go. All in favour.
Wendy, I am abstaining because I was absent from that meeting. Thank you.
Right, I am going to take an absolute liberty as chair here because something was missed off that's brief but it's important, and it's to do with twinning. So if I could ask Janet to come in here.
Thank you. Recently, we have had two very successful twinning events, a September visit to Schweich in Germany during the local wine festival and a visit from Den Dungen in Holland, in Holland from their twinners during October. We were fortunate in being able to take part in the wine festival in Schweich, including watching a parade with brass bands and wine queens from around the local area. It was absolutely spectacular. In October, twinners were able to take part in one of the sculpture trails led by two of our town councillors, which was very well received. 46 people sat down for a Sunday roast in a venue in Clevedon, showing that twinning is alive and well in this town. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. So we now move on to the Behaviour Policy Committee. I note that this has already been mentioned. Thank you very much, Annette. And I also looked at this and thought this was very strange because we have a committee that's properly constituted with the powers to make a decision and to act upon that decision. So I think looking at this, we're not here to approve the recommendations. I think we're here to note the conclusions of the procedure as taken place by that committee. So unless anybody objects to that, I would propose this is an item for noting and move on. Okay, that's fine. And sorry, a member of the public has asked if we could read out what the recommendations were. They've been attached to the minutes and circulated, so no, we have other items on the agenda. So yes, we've answered the question. Thank you. So now we have the reports from the different groups, so from the different committees. Get that right, Roger. So the Planning Advisory Group, Mike, over to you.
Right, fine, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to just mention something you've already talked about, but in the absence of much else to say, most planning applications that have gone through have been the usual crop of dormers and extensions and so on and so forth. But the one thing that did crop up was, as Roger's already told us about, the fact that the local plan is likely to get changed in view of the central government's demand that the housing stock in North Somerset is increased from around about 15,000 back up to 24,000. It was previously under the last administration some years ago around about that figure, then got dropped down to about 14.5, 15. In Portishead, under that 15-year local plan, the number of houses was around about 350 on land, mostly around the Sainsbury's area, Sainsbury's filling station. It's, as Roger's already implied, likely now to be increased as a consequence of landowners having submitted, we presume, because the closing date was the 11th of November, some land-banked areas that we were already aware of in Portishead, around Highdown, perhaps on the Sheepway and on the Portbury 100. We don't know, but we just have to wait and see what will occur in the next chunk of time. I think that's concluded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Community Matters Committee report, Emma.
Thank you. I did a couple of slides, so we can include those in the pack anyway. So the update, we've only had 2 meetings since the last meeting, so we're just short of a full quarter being able to report. But the September meeting, we were joined, I think we were down here in the September meeting, so it was quite a full meeting. And in public participation, we had residents raising concerns over vandalism. We had a mention around the CCTV, and this is regarding the Slade Road area. The council behavioural policy, the format of the PRAM meetings, and of course enabling democracy. So I've just kind of sort of condensed what we're kind of cover in this, but and then other matters as part of our agenda, which we covered, was the weed-in trial update, which David provided. Sort of just mentioned that the quarterly cycle forum meeting was actually being held in Portishead, and I think that was relatively well attended when it was as well. Our community engagement event that we were hosting alongside Portishead Town Council and the Violence Reduction North Somerset as well, and then as it was at the time, the upcoming Energy Expo Day. The grant awards which we made in September was the Now Hear This Music, so £5,000 towards Laura and the team's costs there for venue hire and other facilities which they're making. So the October meeting, which wasn't actually that long ago, so we had the questions which were raised regarding the process of the scrutiny for North Somerset Council's decisions, and that was specifically relating to the parking charges, councillor conduct, the marina safety, and obviously the impact to the lake grounds and all of our volunteer organisations there regarding the parking charges, and specifically the free to use element of the skate park sort of award, which was which needs to kind of remain on our sort of vista anyway somewhere. The other matters which we raised, which were part of the agenda, so we had the meetings for the BSIP Transport Hub, the confirmation of regarding the election, which is going to be held on the 5th of December for our councillor vacancy for West Ward, the additional residents meeting, which was held just a couple of weeks ago now, again, which was really well attended, the marina barriers update, and that was in regards to North Somerset Council stating that they wouldn't be adding any funding to any initiatives regarding that. Again, the vandalism in Slade Road play area, and then the other, which resulted in us agreeing for the costs for the stage, which Ben was just referring to as Barclay as well, the support for the RBL parade from now, and the earmarking of funds for the next 3 years as well, which is, as you said just now, which was really important. And we had 2 grant awards. One for Paul's Place, which was to support activities for Portishead residents for days out and days away. Willow Gardens, which is in the grounds of PMG, which was £1,000. And then we also agreed to another £1,000 fund match if PMG themselves was able to put that £1,000 in. So we've earmarked another 1,000 if indeed PMG do it. So I think that's it. A little bit of a whirlwind tour of the last 2 community matters, and I think just the next slide was a couple of pictures from the violent crime reduction event. Yeah, so a good day had by all there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma. Don't get too comfy because I think you're back in a moment.
Yeah.
So the next report is the Staffing and Finance Committee. John.
Right. There are a number of points which I think are worth noting. Firstly, The last accounts prepared for the council are those for the 6 months ended September, and those indicate that we are on track to be pretty well close to our budget for the year as a whole. Is that too far away? Okay. Right. There is, however, one significant area of uncertainty in our forecasts for this year, and that is the contract for the repairs to the halls, which of course everybody knows have been long overdue and which are going to be quite expensive. We have now received 7 tenders from potential contractors. These tenders are now being critically reviewed by our project managers, and we expect to be in a position to make a decision on which tender to accept, assuming we're going to accept any of them, within a week or so. And then, all being well, work will start in the new year and should be finished probably by the end of April. There is a further complication in respect of the hall tenders regarding our VAT status. We, as a council, are viewed for some purposes by the VAT rules as a property company, because we actually lease out the halls to end users who may or may not be residents. That means that the VAT which is associated with those activities cannot be recovered. And that includes the cost of repairs to those facilities. We have taken independent advice on how to minimise the loss to the council. The reports came in this week. I've asked some follow-up questions which we've received today. Some answers from the consultant concerned, and I will be making a recommendation to the council in the next few days. Associated with the whole buildings issue is a review of our insurance cover for fire purposes. All our valuations are woefully out of date, and we have commissioned yet another reassuringly expensive consultant to produce some updated valuations, which hopefully will avoid an embarrassing situation in the disastrous event that there is a fire. That data is, or his report, so it is due to be received this week, and again recommendations will go to council. The last point I would like to mention is that the budget for the next financial year, commencing April 25, is now in course of preparation. A working draft has been prepared, but it has not yet been reviewed in any detail by the council. We expect that the process is going to be quite complex this year for all sorts of reasons, which I'm not going to go into at the moment. And the full budget will be presented to council in January, in accordance with last year's timetable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. And now back to Emma to speak about the work of the Community Engagement Working Group.
Okay, thanks, Roger. So we finally got our resident drop-in sessions off the ground. We've got our full schedule of events up until 25th of April next year. So our first one being a week on Friday, so that's the 22nd of November. So we are hosting that and running that here in the hall from 3 o'clock. Probably up until 6. We're going to sort of gauge how these first engagement and drop-in sessions go, and then we'll sort of hone it really, I guess, for the remainder. So we've definitely got our next 2 set here. So that is 22nd of November and the 20th of December, both Fridays, and they will be run on every last Friday of the month going on. So we are hopeful that between 3 and 6 p.m. will be the schedule, but if that needs to adapt because people can't make it, or if anything else needs to happen, then it will do. We'll have a timetable of seasonal events which will be part of that, agendas that we'll raise, but everything else is just as in whatever the residents wish to fetch to us on the day. We'll hopefully set up a sort of I should say a rota, but councillors that will be available at the sessions themselves. And yeah, just hopeful to see some people dropping in. Really, that's it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Emma. We now move on to agenda item number 14, public toilet provision. And here we're looking to set up a working group to investigate all options for providing public toilet provision and report back to full council in the future. I believe that we need a proposer and seconder for that. So I'm happy to propose if there's a seconder for that. So Paul Gardner, that's fine. And then if we just all vote, if everyone's happy to set up that working party, all in favour? That's carried. Did anybody... Yeah, so does anybody want to volunteer to be on that working party? That's the next one, isn't it?
I think. Oh, sorry.
Look! Who knew that toilets were so exciting? Are you just going to note their names? Emma, Janet, Mike, and Mariam. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. Next item number 15, Portishead Football Club, community use of sports facilities and release of funds. So there's two items here. We'll take them one at a time. The papers have been provided. So the recommendation is to approve the signing of the contract for the community use of sports facilities at the Portishead Football Club. Does anybody wish to speak to or about this?
Yeah, can I?
Paul, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the football club obviously been working for years to put this all-weather pitch in place because the pitches are on the floodplain. They're often unplayable. But the pitch is now finished. It's a plug for the football club because the first game on the pitch is on Saturday. So there's a little opening ceremony thingy around midday. The men's team have got a game at 3 o'clock and the women's team has got games on Sunday as well. So it's the first use of the pitch. It's absolutely fantastic. It cost £1.1 million. So our £30,000 grant was obviously an enabler for the football club to get the rest of the funds, mostly from the Lioness Women's Football Fund, basically. So because they've got a thriving women's teams there. In fact, on Sunday they're playing AFC Bournemouth, which is, for those who follow football, Bournemouth is actually a Premier League football club. So they're actually playing their women's team. So that shows how the standard that they've got down there, which is really, really good. So yeah, that's so if anyone fancies a trip down, it'll be a nice event on Saturday. So okay. Shall I just say, this is basically just an agreement. It's an FA thing that we have to do, so it's not actually signing any funds or anything like that. It's just signing an agreement. So, Mike, yeah.
Well, when you mentioned the pitch in terms of the district, how many are there around all weather pitches?
Pitches, I honestly don't know, Mike, but they're not that many.
There aren't that many.
There aren't that many, but it's really a
big uplift for.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. Yeah, I mean they'll be able to play that obviously all the time because they've been playing away all season, so they've now got 14 home games in a row, or something like that. Yeah, because they've had to play all their away games, play all the teams away basically, but it's not that usual. And it's we need to go down there, but they've got a special vacuum cleaner. They've been trained to look after it and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite a lot of technology down there. So yeah.
It was only response to Mike. I think the most local are either up in Fayland or down in Weston because Grace.
Where all the.
Yeah. With Grace playing rugby in that sense, I think those are the most local. I don't think there's anything any closer. So it is, yes, good for Portishead. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there is the one at Gordano School, but that was primarily designed for hockey, and whereas it works okay for something hobby stuff like leisure leagues, when it comes to Portishead Football Club, it's not the sort of thing they need. And I think there's some in Clevedon as well, but I think they're in a bad state of repair now as well. So yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic thing for Portishead. The football club go from strength to strength, and they support this community in so many different ways. And I think we're probably, hopefully, all be happy to support them in whichever ways we can. So I'm happy to propose the recommendation as laid out. Would anybody like to second that one? Emma, thank you very much. And all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. The next one's really just a formality. This is a recommendation to release the second part of the funding. So we did the funding for the football club in two separate decisions, I think, and we've released the main part of the funding, and there's an additional 10,000 yet to be released. So the recommendation is to note the additional 10,000 set aside in earmarked reserves from SIL funds for the football club has been requested and released. So that's that's just a note, so we don't vote on that one. So we've already sent the money, and I'm sure they are very grateful for it. And I'm glad to hear that the pitch is now in use. Okay, moving on to item number 16, hire of the hall. We have a report which hopefully everybody has read. And this is really about, again, it's something that was raised from the residents' meeting before, wasn't it? That certain groups in the hall like to have the hall set out for them, but there's an issue and a cost resource that goes with that. And from the report, this is our opportunity to feed in our ideas or questions as to how we think we should deal with that, and I think we could probably outline here that either the council takes it on the chin and employs somebody to do that job, or it changes its policy and says that job either can't be done or would have to be done at a fee. So there's only very few things that we can do for that, and it outlines the issues around the insurance as well. That if people are moving their own stuff, they're also responsible. Moving our stuff, they're also responsible for their insurance, which was another one raised by the residents. So who would like to speak about this? Paul.
Kick it off. I mean, thanks to Mike for the report. I mean, clearly paying £17,000 to do for a job that might be done now and again, a couple of hours a week, is not good value for money. So, I mean, to me, the options are, well, there's one option, which is we just don't offer that service anymore, and that's that. Or we've got to offer it properly, which is expensive. So I personally think we should come to a decision and say we can't offer that service anymore, only on a best endeavours basis. But not a contractual commitment. So, yeah. Don't know if anyone else has got a view. So yeah.
It's just to note that it's been pointed out to us that the chairs here are quite heavy compared to the chairs elsewhere in the building, and they're also not fire compliant. So one thing we could do to make it easier for people to move chairs around, I think the tables, it says in the report, the tables, we can't get anything that's lighter or more accessible. We can certainly make it easier by renewing our chair provision in line with the chairs we've got elsewhere in the building. Of course, that comes with a cost, but it seems if these aren't fire compliant, that's something we should be doing. I wonder if that's come up with the halls review, John.
That point has not come up in the fire assessments in the halls review.
It hasn't been identified as part of the halls review directly. It has been raised by fire risk assessments, however, not as a critical issue. Ultimately, it would be more significant if there were people sleeping in the building, which clearly there aren't, but the chairs are also approaching end of life. They're 26 years old, which is worth considering, and they are starting to fall apart, quite literally.
Yes, I was going to speak in respect to my involvement with the Gordena Civic Society, where we currently meet monthly in the Somerset Hall, and we've been there a number of years. We were at one time in the folk hall, but we were hitting 100, sometimes 100 plus, and so we felt that rather than turn people away, we had to move elsewhere, which we did. And now, unfortunately, our numbers are dwindled. We're down to 50, 60. All getting older, and putting the chairs away would be an issue. It has to be said. I'm one of the younger ones of the group, and I wouldn't fancy putting 50, 60 chairs away at the end of the evening's meet. And of course, this is done for us at the Somerset Hall and put out, so we don't have to worry about it. Yes, I suppose there could be an additional cost absorbed into the hiring of the hall over that period of time that we have it once a month, which we pay around about £100 for the use of the Somerset Hall, which is quite a lot, and we lose money on each meeting, basically. So it's something that is an issue, and I can see where you're coming from, Paul, because of course there is an incurred cost if you employ someone between 9:30, 10 o'clock to put the chairs away. But yeah, it is what it is. I think at one point we'll have to probably, like the Wildlife Trust, probably come back here as they did, I think, themselves. Oh no, they've always been here, but the Horticultural Society, I think, came back, didn't they? Yeah.
If I can just clarify, we don't provide any form of set-out service in the evenings. So the groups that meet here in the evenings set out for themselves. That was changed about 2 years ago when the caretaker at the time left, and it was the only sustainable way that we could actually continue to operate. As you say, the Somerset Hall is significantly more expensive. Our pricing point here during the day when we are offering a service, well, we don't offer the service, that's the whole point. But we try and assist if we can. It's £12 per hour for a regular hirer. So you'd be looking about a quarter the price that you would be looking for Somerset Hall. And that's the difference potentially in terms of where that money goes and how much you need to charge in order to support that service.
Anybody else?
Sorry, are you looking for us to make a recommendation today or what?
I think we just, according to this, we're just discussing this on the agenda today. I think maybe the best thing that we could do at this stage would be to try and give some guidance to the officers as to where we would like them to look. So would we like them to bring back a report to add an additional cost onto everything, or would we like them to bring back a report to add an additional cost just for the people who wanted to set up, what that would look like? Or do we maybe want them to bring back a report as to how much it would cost to replace the chairs with lighter ones to make it easier? And you know what, no matter what we do here, someone's going to end up being upset because the people who feel that they can't move them for themselves are going to be upset if we don't do it, and if we do and we push the cost onto everybody else, everyone else is going to be upset. So it's a no-win situation, but we have to do something. We can't leave it in the air, I think. So yeah, Janet.
I think we should initially find the cost of chairs. I think that's essential because of everything that Mike has said. I think that's the first point. And the second point is £12.50 an hour is pretty cheap. And I think we should raise it probably by about 20% anyway to cover the VAT issue. And then thirdly, I think that maybe we could find somebody who doesn't want to work very often. We can't? Okay, but I think that, that a lot of people who hire the hall during the day are elderly, and I think that they would find it extremely difficult to set it out for themselves, especially the tables. I can't manage the tables, and I think that this is a dichotomy. Do we charge more, or do we stop the service,
or do we go with best endeavour, which is the other one, isn't it? That we just look at what we can do when we can do it, which is sort of what we do at the moment. The problem with best endeavour is, with the best will in the world, people get used to it as a service, and then when you say, well, we can't do it, that's when you start to upset people. Janet?
I also think best endeavour is rather unfair on our officers. It's rather unfair on Mike, and I know that that other staff, when Mike aren't around, have actually had to come and do it. And you know, there isn't anyone that's particularly, sadly to say, very young in the office, and it's just unfair. You know, it's physically very hard to do.
I personally think it certainly should be added as a service cost, as a unit cost of setting up fee. That if you did want that service, it should be paid for. And it's known that it's not a free of charge service with the hire of the hall.
If I can just add a couple of points, for Janet's benefit, the cost of replacing the chairs is £3,600 extra, excluding VAT. I've already looked at that. We did attempt to fill the posts here on 3 separate occasions for the caretaker. We were unable to find any suitable applicants. It is a very difficult job to fill. It is antisocial. The other thing is, unless you make it essentially fundamentally full-time, i.e. 9 to 5, then you are going to be asking somebody to come in on an extremely occasional basis, perhaps an hour on a Wednesday once a month, 1 o'clock, and then another hour the same Wednesday once a month at 5 o'clock. And it's very difficult to find somebody that's going to be in a position to do that, who is only going to be employed on an ad hoc basis of 5 or 10 minutes at a time for 90 minutes a week.
John?
Why don't we suggest to the groups who want to hire the halls that they should provide their own able-bodied volunteers to move the chairs?
Thank you, John. That was about what I was going to suggest. You know, and they could pay someone, couldn't they? I mean, it's going to be a difficult. As Roger says, it's a no-win situation for us, and if we stop doing something that people are used to, it's not going to make them happy. But if we put the response and having a kind of different pricing system for different groups just makes Mike's job more complicated. So I think just saying, you know, we'd be happy to support someone coming in to help you, and please can you sort that out? Seems like a straightforward way of dealing with it.
I'm going to say it might suit some teenagers or whatever who just want the odd hour or two to get up some pocket money and stuff like that. So maybe a bit of creative thinking and just trying to get them in touch with some people who can just help them out. Might be the way to do it. I don't know. Yeah. I was going to say, with the chairs, are we going to can we just put a budget provision in for next year? So we'll just put a budget provision in for next year, Mike, for the chairs. Is that all right? Yeah. That'll close that one. Yeah.
Please, can they be blue?
No, green. Yeah.
So yeah, I think where are we going to make that decision on the chairs? Next council meeting?
We've put a budget provision in, then we can for next year, and then we can, when we approve the budget, it will be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, is that all right? So unless there's a pressing need to get them next week.
That's fine. We'll do that as part of the budget preparation. Then that's the easy way of doing that. So yeah, chairs dealt with. I wonder if, and I'm just going to raise this one here. I wonder if there's a few groups, isn't there, that we know that would like this service, and I wonder if we go to those groups and we say to them, look, our options here are that we can try and facilitate somebody to help you on an ad hoc basis. Yeah, we can change the chairs for lighter ones to make it easier for you to do, or any other options that anyone else wants to put forward, and see what they say. Because maybe it would be a good idea to get them into that decision-making process, so that it's not something that we're just imposing, but it's something that we're working out together. I think that would be a good way forward if everyone's happy with that. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? have we exhausted it?
Sorry, Roger.
Can I just,
Yes, please.
can I just clarify that the current terms and conditions of hire do state that the hirer is expected to set out and clear away any tables and chairs required? And that has been in place for at least 12 years, which is the oldest version of the document I can find.
Okay, so they all know that they're supposed to do it. Okay, fair enough. Well, I think go and have a chat with them and see. That's a good idea. Yeah.
They all know, assuming that they all read the terms and conditions, of course. But yes, yeah, I get that. So okay, so if we can move on from that one, then no, we're not. Emma, no.
I was only going to very briefly say that there's I'll speak with the youth centre because there's obviously many people there that only work, very, very small, sort of hour here, hour there, whatever. So that might be a potential resource option that we could look at as well. So yeah, it's just that the pool of opportunity it exists there, so we can see.
That's great. So we get all these together, and hopefully at some stage we'll have enough information to come up with a policy that works as well as it can for everyone. Okay to move on. The next one is the bleed kits. Sorry, could the clerk just clarify where these came from? Mike, could Mike please clarify where these came from? The halls manager.
They appeared as if by magic. Literally, one appeared on the front and northwest, and we weren't informed. They were actually provided by Avon and Somerset Police in conjunction with, I believe, Heartstart. They're being installed across the Avon and Somerset Force area at various strategic locations. They're putting them alongside the AEDs, the defibrillators, because it's a place that's readily accessible, and they're simply putting them alongside where they think they could be used.
Thank you very much, and I think it's important. I mean, it's sad because we know what the connotations are of why we might need bleed kits in public places. So it's sad that that we need these, but equally it's important that people have these. These bleed kits save lives, and I think we're just here noting that 2 have been installed on town council premises.
One's installed. There'll be a further to follow at the folk hall at some point in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we're just noting that one. Anybody else wish to say anything on that? Marianne.
Just when we had, I believe, the defibrillator people come along as well for the Lions, saying that the most used was by the Boots in the High Street. Maybe that location would be a good location because it's the most accessible for the public.
There is a plan to put one up Boots. There was an issue that it physically was challenging because of a drain pipe right alongside the thing.
Roger, yeah, I've just very quickly, just a note really, I guess, the locator, the bleed kit locator is on the heartsafe.org.uk website. So if anybody, obviously if you ring 999, they'll tell you where they are anyway, but if somebody needed one for any other reason that they could, that's where the locator, and that's kept up to date separately by that charity.
Can you remind me of that when we get to item 21 on the agenda as well?
Can I just clarify on that point? It's not recommended to go to the HeartSafe site because you're relying on the fact that the things are kept up to date. They may not be. Go through the ambulance service. They have an up-to-date list of what's in use. If the bleed kit has been taken out of use for whatever reason and it is in use, you will go to the wrong location potentially. You'll go to where there isn't one at that time. Our AED here at the moment is out of action because it was used the other night, and we're waiting for a new battery. So if you were to go on HeartSafe, you would probably find it still there. Or some of the maps that you will find of where the AEDs are, you would see it's here. It's not available at this time. So go through the ambulance service.
Okay, thank you. So item number 18, Gertie Gales allotments. This is just to note that the annual accounts from Gertie Gales have been received. So anyone who wishes to go through those, they are now welcome. Number 19, festive season office opening times. These are in line with previous years. And again, this is just to note when we are open and not open over the festive period. Item number 20 is finance. So this is to a recommendation to approve payment of invoice number 800461069 for £14,474.48 for by-election costs for the 2 by-elections that recently took place. Are we talking about this payments? Yep. Okay. So I think I had a note to say that nobody ever said that democracy was cheap, but it is a necessary part of the process, and therefore the recommendation is to pay the invoice. And I have, is it David, Janet, and Mike wishing to speak on this?
I take exception to this, a very great exception to this, because having been a person who actually did the parish poll, I was told that they specifically made sure that it was cheaper for us by leaving the election stuff up for us to use so that it would only have to be taken down once. And what they've basically done is charge you £14,000 for the whole of the cost of the election, when in fact it took place at the time of the general election, and it should piggyback on it.
So,
I was going to say just the same. I've asked Wendy to look into it with North Somerset. It does seem unreasonable to pay £14,000, and I agree with, if it's a by-election that's out with the general election, there'll be costs associated with it, but I can't see what the extra costs are associated with a by-election alongside a general election.
Well, inevitably, we were all asking the same question, really. So it was bound to happen. Yes, it's an extraordinary cost of money. Are they going to be charging us £7,500 for the one on December the 5th? One wonders. But yeah, it's a staggering amount of money. And as has already been said, piggybacking on the general, it seems ridiculous that this is an incurred cost to us.
yeah, I mean, Wendy, I think it was previously a by-election, a Singleton by-election that was on its own was about 8,000. Is that right? So to be charged 7,500 each, wherever it is, it seems very high. Obviously, there are costs there are separate polling cards that come out, but it's just a postal thing, isn't it? So, yeah, I think we need a full cost breakdown of where this number's come from. So.
Great. So, Wendy, can we ask you to just pop this one back to North Somerset, asking for a little more detail as to how they got to this figure, and then we should. I guess it's North Somerset, so they can wait for the money, can't they? So we'll bring it back at the next council meeting to discuss that, should they have responded with some relevant information. Good. Is everyone done on that one? Great.
Could I just say, I'm wondering do they charge us for general elections as well, or not? No. Okay, so it's not a general election charge. No. Okay, maybe they've mixed it up. I don't know.
Okay, item 21 on the agenda is the communications output from this meeting. And I had a few notes as to what I thought we might want to push through to communications to get items onto our website and social media accounts. So the release of answers to the Senior Citizen Forum, we said that was going to go on our website and social media accounts. So we need to honour that commitment and make sure that one goes. The bleed kits, and I think the information that Mike gave us on how to, the best way to access their locations is an important one to get out there. I mean, it's great news that these things are being provided in our town. We need to make sure as many people as possible know that they're there, because they really do save lives. The festive opening hours, of course, we need to make sure that everyone's aware of that. And I think the decision to set up a working party to look into toilets no matter how unexciting that may be, is something that we should be talking about. People should know. They know that we've got problems. They know those toilets have been closed. We should be making sure that we're talking about the fact that we're doing something. We don't know what it is yet, but we're looking into it, and we'll have something for them in the future. Is a good message to come out. Does anybody else have anything that they think we should? Oh, look!
Can I
Two
just
hands up
suggest
already.
that looking into is not the phrase to use?
No, let's not. Let's not look into the toilets. Good one. Yes. Do you want to go first, Paul, and then Emma?
Yeah, I just, given that obviously Community Fridge Lady came along, I think we should thank them and maybe just put a couple of lines on social media about what they do to publicise it. And also we should formally publish thanks to the Remembrance Day parade at Berkeley and Ben, basically. So, yeah.
I was only going to say that just maybe the schedule for the resident drop-ins, because we've got 6 months of those, so we can start getting that out to amplify the dates.
Great. Yeah. So let's get that on there as well. Look at that. We've got a full list for comms to deal with. That's great. Anything else on that? No. Okay. So the date of the next meeting of the Town Council is Wednesday, the 15th of January, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Now we have a. Sorry.
We might have to call an EGM because we have the tender. Yeah, do.
There are two issues relating to the halls contract which will require an EGM. One is the approval of the contract for the hall repair project itself. This is going to be of the order of £300,000 more, very likely. It's certainly outside any individual person's buying authority here. The other is a potential change to our VAT status. At the moment, as I mentioned earlier, the activities relating to the halls generate input VAT, which we cannot recover. There is a way around it. It's called an option to tax, which can be applied to each of the halls separately. And it results in us being able to reclaim all of the input tax on the contract. But we have to start charging VAT on hall rentals. This doesn't affect the council, curiously enough, because anything that we suffer in the way of VAT that we can't recover, we simply pass on to residents in the form of an increased precept. Any VAT that we collect on hall rentals, we just pay over to the customs and excise. The burden of changing the VAT status does not fall equally on two groups of people, the residents and the users of the halls.
Okay, John, if I could
we need to have a debate about that.
Yeah, no, I get that. If I could just stop you there. So the date of the next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, the 15th of January, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. in the Folk Hall. If anybody wishes to know, please keep an eye on our website because there may be an EGM to do with the work on the halls and the council's VAT status. Yep. That's great. Thank you. Where then during those meetings, we'll go into full detail of the hows, whys and wherefores on that. I note that we have some confidential items to discuss, staff structure, operational, and briefly delivering together with North Somerset an update on that one as well. So I believe I have to say under the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, members of the public and press are required to leave the meeting due to the items being confidential matters, confidential staffing matters. Section 11 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1969. So I just need everybody to agree that we go into confidential session. Show of hands, please. All in favour. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the members of the public.